Welcome to the Inside Out Podcast, where we unearth and unleash the soul of your brand, revealing who you are on the inside, your mission, your culture, your core values, because your brand DNA has the power to fuel your business exponentially. I'm your host, Barbara Yolles Ludwig, and I'm really excited for today's guest. Please join me in welcoming Kim Hanson, the CEO of LearningRx, the largest one-on-one brain training company in the world, with 170 plus centers in over 40 countries around the globe. An educator, a two-time author, a top franchisor, generational business leader. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, Kim, before we jump in, and I'll share the story of how we met. I always like to start with a fun fact. So share something with us that maybe people don't know about you.
Sure. I usually, as a fun fact, I talk about the fact that my grandpa is the guy who suggested putting the white line on the side of the road.
Oh,
Isn't that
wow.
crazy?
That is crazy. It's really
So,
crazy. Yeah, because I mean, we look at that white line on the side of the road and nobody thinks that somebody actually invented that.
right. Or suggested it. Yeah. So that was my grandpa. He was an eye doctor and he was on like a transit board when they were putting together the interstates. And so that was his suggestion. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I
amazing.
guess it's not really about me, I guess, but I did have, I had a standing ovation from the Judds and Crystal Gale.
Oh, that's cool. For what?
So, back when I was first teaching school in the inner city, I lived in Nashville and they attended a church. And on Easter Sunday, I was asked to do a monologue as Mary. And so I was Mary. So the whole Easter thing was me talking. And at the end, Crystal Gale was right in front of me and she stood up and gave me a standing O.
Oh,
And the
that is
Judds were there too.
how cool. I love
Isn't
that.
that kind of fun?
That is
Yeah.
very fun. I also love your grandfather's story. We'd have to connect your grandfather with my sister-in-law's father-in-law invented the, green, yellow, red lights,
Oh,
so maybe they were friends. I don't know.
very cool.
Maybe they did like roads, lines, and lights together. So,
Yeah.
maybe there's some crazy connection there, but well, I'm excited to see you. And, we met when we were at the Ernst& Young Entrepreneur of the Year conference. And I was so blown away by your story and your father's founding of Learning RX. And I'd really love to kind of start there. It's such a wonderful story. If you wouldn't mind kind of telling us the founding story.
Sure. Sure. So when my dad was a kid, he was really smart. He was really good at math, and it just kind of showed. And so they decided to test him as a young child,
Yeah.
and sure enough, they determined that he was a genius. And I think what also confused so that's pretty cool, but it confused my dad because reading was always difficult for him.
Hmm.
And so he was always that was kind of that question, the curiosity that he had. It
Yeah.
was, if I'm a genius, how could I struggle to read? And so when I was born, my dad held me in his hands, and he thought I was a beautiful baby, and he made me a promise that if he could help it, I would never learn to read or to learn. And so that kind of started my dad down the journey. And so he started studying Piaget and the different steps of cognitive growth in children. And
Uh-huh.
so my dad did all kinds of experiments with me. He put me on an incline board. He carpeted it first, I guess, leaned it up against the pool table to see if I would crawl faster. He taught me how to read the wrong way with flashcards in my high chair. So when I was 2, I was able to read over 850 words or like flashcards.
Incredible.
Um, Yeah, and so then he started, preschools. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, and so, my dad actually opened a couple preschools, and then, he just kept reading and studying anything about intelligence. So he loved the back of an intelligence test because in the back, you have to put the research and the why you think that tests that skill. And so my dad, he would study sports teams that won championships, and he would just take like these different pieces and kind of put them together. He was also a pediatric optometrist, so he's considered one of the fathers of vision therapy. When I was a little girl, we used to go around the country, and my dad trained over 500 doctors how to run a business because they only teach you in optometry school, how to help someone see clear. They don't teach you
Right,
how to answer the phone, how to do payroll, all of, how to market. And
right.
so, yeah. And so my dad would teach them. And the parts of vision therapy that he would test everything before and after. And some of that worked and some of it didn't have a huge impact. And so that's when he started going deeper into cognitive skills. And what he found is that there's 7 underlying skills that are important to how you learn and perform, and they
Mhm.
can all be strengthened and trained. And so that's kind of how my dad's programs developed.
Yeah. And I mean, you really were introduced to it as a an infant, really. And so
Yeah,
it's in your DNA. At what
it
point did
is.
you transition into working with your father and taking all of that legacy and rich data and research that he developed through the years
Yeah.
and
So you're not going to believe this answer, but my dad, being such an entrepreneur himself, even as a kid, when I was 4, he started to call me his business partner. And he would pick me up from kindergarten and I would go to seminars with him. He called me business partner, and he had read a book back then, how to buy like units with no money down. And so we kind of had a goal. In 2 years, he wanted to have 60 units. So I would go with him. We would discuss, why we should or shouldn't buy that apartment or that unit. And I spent lots of time at the home and loan. In fact, when I was a kid, I didn't play I didn't play house. I played bank. I would invite kids to come over and, because I knew all the ladies at the bank, they would give me like stamps and old checks. And so I would have like a blender and a little stuffed animal, and I would invite, my neighborhood friends to take out a loan. And if you do it today, you could take home a blender with you.
oh my god, that's incredible. But I
Yeah.
mean,
So I
really
was
the
always
whole
my dad's business partner.
well, yeah, so I mean, you developed that business muscle when you were 4 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like the ultimate of cognitive training, right? Is to train your brain to, exercise those muscles and be able to use them as their, like, second hand. That's an incredible story. So you were an
Yeah.
entrepreneur starting at 4. I love this. I love that you
Yeah.
were giving people loans. That's
Now
amazing.
my very first business was at 9, and, I love to doodle. So I had doodled some cards, and we went to the printer and had them printed, and then I would go around the neighborhood and knock on doors and sell my cards to, older ladies. Loved my cards, and then on the back, I had a little marketing sentence. Um, actually,
Do you have it there?
yeah.
Oh,
Can you
wow.
see that?
Yeah.
These were 2 of my 4 cards, and if you look on the back, there's a little marketing sentence. So, like, this one says, "You're special," and on the back it says, "Hi, my name is Kimmy Gibson, and I believe you're special because God made you. And if you'd like more of my cards, write to me at 312 North Union Street, Appleton, Wisconsin, 54911. And what's crazy is, we lived across from a park. And so I would, anytime they had an art fair or that type of thing, I would set up tables and I would sell my cards. Even when I was in college, I would come home and my mom would tell me, "You have 3 orders you need to send out." So they went all over the world.
You're
Isn't that cool?
kidding. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool. So you had this business starting at 9,
Mhm.
and how long did you have the card business?
Uh, it kind of sizzled out probably when I was, at the end of college when I first got married.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I just drew some cards for LearningRx though, and so I'm using those.
Can you share them with us?
Um, Here's one. I love brain training.
Are those your doodles?
Yeah, these are my doodles.
God, you're really talented, Kim. Amazing.
Yeah, so I try to use my creativity. Here's my Picasso one. Oops.
Incredible. Where can
So,
somebody get these cards? Or these are cards you share with the students?
these are ones that I use in business.
Yeah, really cool. I did
Yeah,
see that, I saw in one of your other videos that you like to doodle. So I can see that coming alive in your artwork there. Well,
yeah.
at what point did you decide to join your dad? And tell us how you got into the business with Learning RX.
Yeah. So as a kid, obviously I worked a lot for my dad. Then I went off, I taught school. I worked as a children's pastor in a large church.
Uh-huh.
So I did a lot of things. One thing that my dad always loved about me is that I was good at starting things and growing things. And so when my dad decided that he was going to start franchising, that was back in like 2003. He wanted to find someone who could help learn how to franchise and then help grow it. And so that's when my dad called me, and I had just had my fourth child, and
Wow.
it was just time. So he offered me a bigger salary than I was making at the church, and I only had to work half the time. And so I was like, "Yep, I'll do it, Dad."
I love it. Well, so as you think about Learning RX and as you think about your category, there's a lot in education, there's a lot around educational training. It's almost like you've created an entirely new category with what your offering is. And share a little bit about that, because how do you tell that story to families who may have the need? It's very different way of training your brain and exercising your brain. Did you find it challenging to create, um, that franchise model and introducing your concept to parents?
Mhm. Yeah. So most people don't know this, but there are 2 parts to SMART. There's what you know, and then there's how you process information. And we're on the how you process information side. So when people hear that, it makes sense. But a lot of times they think that maybe we're educational or we're on the academic side or the what you know side, but that's not what we do at all. We do one on one exercises to improve those 7 underlying skills that are important for how you learn and how you perform. So we have exercises, over 100 exercises. And so we train things like attention, working memory, visual processing, logic and reasoning, auditory processing, long term memory, and so your executive functioning. And so we do one on one exercises to increase that. My dad settled in at first he kind of worked in groups and that type of thing, but
Yeah.
what he found is that working one-on-one was the best way to do it, because that way we can work on only what you can't do. And
Uh-huh.
so on all of these exercises, we find where it starts getting hard for you, and then that's where we start. So what's really cool about that is you're not working on something you can already do. Every
Right.
time you sit down and train, you're working on what you can't do, but our job is to turn that can't into a can. And so
It's
it's
it's kind
very
of
inspiring work.
right. I mean, it sounds like I don't think people think about how you exercise your brain the way you might exercise your body, right?
Uh-huh.
And being customized, it sounds like that's a very unique part of your offering that I've not heard. And I'm the mom of also four of
Mhm.
my own and four steps, so eight boys. And everybody learns differently. You don't always realize that. And the way you train them it's fascinating because I don't think I've ever thought about the fact that I might learn differently than the next person. And you're able to customize that and strengthen that the way, my legs may be strong, but my arms aren't strong or my upper body isn't strong. Your brain's a muscle, right?
Exactly, exactly. And so we start where there's weakness and we strengthen that. But then we also, because you don't really use your cognitive skills isolated,
Uh-huh.
truly, usually you're using a couple for different things. And there is a reason why you could be really good at math, but reading would be hard, or vice versa. It's because it requires different underlying skills. So
I
that's why
see.
you can have a genius who can struggle when it comes to certain things because
Right.
they don't have, they have a skill weakness there, but it can be trained, and then you can just open up opportunities.
Yeah. Kim, when Learning RX started, it was mostly with children. Today,
Hmm.
it's not just children, right? You're working with all
Correct.
ages.
Hmm. Yeah. It's kind of amazing. Yeah, our goal was to help kids read and
Uh-huh.
learn. But over the years, we've had a lot of different people come and knock at our door and say, "Can you help us?" Our answer was always, "We don't know, but we'll try."
Right.
And so now we've worked with soldiers, we've worked with athletes, we've worked with traumatic brain injury, people after we just had our actually, it's our 18th peer reviewed journal article come out just a few weeks ago, and that was on fog after COVID for in
Wow.
the workplace. And so, uh, the clients that we had in that study had some really great improvements.
Yeah, I bet. I know, I had a child who had some concussions from ice
Mhm,
hockey, and I didn't realize it actually damaged his short-term memory, and he needed to do some rehabilitation around that. I didn't think about COVID, but it makes sense, or even older adults, my age, who maybe went through life not really understanding that they had some challenges with learning. And they're discovering that now, at an older
mhm.
adult age or as an executive who maybe needs some additional skills. I don't know that everybody realizes that they could benefit from what you offer at any age, really.
Yep, at any age, and you don't really have to be struggling either. In fact, I think it's one of the greatest gifts that you could give yourself and
Uh-huh.
or someone that you love, to have better attention, to have better processing speed, to be able to
Certainly.
picture things better.
Right. Right. Well, especially with adults, I think the stat was 10,000 adults every day turn 65, right? And
Oh,
you want to
wow,
keep
yeah.
that cognitive muscle sharp. I would think they would benefit from some of the training and exercises that you do with individuals. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they truly do. Yeah.
Kim, I was curious, everybody now, and I'm sure, in all the conferences and things that you go to as well, everybody's talking about AI. Like,
Mhm.
What's your perspective on that? How do you think that would impact or change what you're doing? I know what you do is very tactile and custom, but I was so curious to ask you about that.
Yeah. So when it comes to AI, first of all, I use it personally a lot. There have been days when I've even thought uh, I should probably, send Chat a gift card because he helped me so much today. um,
It's
have
like
you
a
ever
team
thought that?
member.
I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
um, but what I love about AI actually is that we are kind of an unknown service, and chat and just a lot of the AI, all of them, they really love what we do. And because we have all the research behind what we do and we have the results that we get, AI is suggesting us to people that are looking for alternative things, to improve attention and to, improve memory. And so we we are just seeing a lot of people finding us, which was a lot more difficult when it's just Google search.
Right,
Now they're finding us in a lot of the AI because
right.
so many stories and studies have been done on our programs that I love AI. We just need to keep giving it articles and helping more people.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I mean, it's as important as a Google search and, indexing on that as well. I also think um, AI will ultimately change the way we do certain tasks or think about
Hmm.
certain things. It seems like on one end, tech, speed to market and access to information quickly is becoming more and more readily available. But on the other end, there's even more need for tactile exercises.
Emphasizing the human, right?
Yeah. And it seems
Yeah.
like your services and your programs will be even more important because of that,
Hmm.
in making sure that people are sharp and attentive and have, clear thoughts and ideas and can express them. So I was curious about that because it does feel like AI is almost making that two very like diverse quadrants that become
Hmm.
even more important to um, understand and be very adept at or exercise. So I
Yeah.
was
W- One of the most important things about our training is the trainer. And so a brain trainer is not necessarily someone who has a certain degree in anything. It's someone who'd be a good coach at pushing you through difficulty. And so, actually, a
Mhm.
soccer coach makes a great trainer. So, it's someone who's there to be your cheerleader and help you through difficult things because, again, we're working on what you can't do. And we have to, repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So, because it is a skill and it's not knowledge, it's a little bit more like playing the piano or playing tennis. Right? So you could go to a lecture hall and listen for 12 hours on the basics of tennis, and after 12 hours you should know more about tennis, but it doesn't make your serve any better or your backhand any better. But if you went out onto the court and we started throwing balls at you and you had to hit different targets, you would gain skill after 12 hours of doing those exercises. So same thing for your cognitive skills. It isn't something you can just get through learning or a book. It's something where you have to sit down with a trainer and help them, have them push you through these exercises.
Right. When you're working with someone, is it a once a week thing? Is it an everyday where you're training every single day? Like what's your philosophy around that?
Mhm. It's a little bit different if you're an adult. If you're an
Mhm.
adult, and you are kinda wanting to do it a little bit more for fun, and also, there's not like a great need in your life, you just want, to get that edge, we could do it as little as once a week. When we're working with someone who really wants to, get some big results, typically it's 2 or 3 times a week for about
Yeah.
90 minutes. If you are really struggling, you don't want to take 3 years to see a difference, right? So it's not
Mhm.
something where you would just do it once a week over 3 years. We kinda pack it in and maybe do 3 or 6 months, 3 times a week, and then we get some really great results.
Yeah.
So it's a little
Amazing.
intense when it comes to but a lot of people need to see change because they're losing their confidence, they're really struggling, and so when someone's struggling, that's the best way to get results.
Yeah. Yeah, the very focused effort around it.
Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about how you scaled the business and the brand. I mean, you're in more than 40 countries, which is incredible. How did you approach the scaling without losing the kind of the heart of your mission and the soul
Mhm.
of what you all created?
Yeah. It's really been kind of one center at a time. I have to say, and we are very careful that that there is a match when it comes to mission, vision, and values. That's
Mhm.
really important to us. And also, I really want people who are going to have a successful business. I don't want them to put, their time, money, and effort into something that they won't be successful at. And so, part of that is just that we keep showing up and we keep helping people. And it's interesting. A lot of people that find us have found us because someone's life has been changed. So it's very much a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Um,
Both from the referred students or from the franchise standpoint or both, are you saying?
from both. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. So a lot of our franchisees and a lot of our licensees international,
Mhm.
were professionals or are professionals that were looking for something that could help. They wanted a solution, an answer. A lot of people do a lot of testing, but then they don't know what to recommend. And so that's why we've had so many professionals, but also we've had a lot of parents that have left the corporate world and have wanted to do something meaningful and something
Oh,
that they
wow.
could call like their own business. And so that's kind of how we've grown. So, uh, yeah, that's kind of how we've scaled it. It's kind of, 10, 20 centers at a time is
Amazing.
really kinda
So
what we've
when
done.
when you think about it, there's very famous franchise organizations, right? I used to work for McDonald's Corporation and, we always said we're a real estate company, you know. I mean,
Mhm,
yes, we made magic and wonderful moments, but we were a real estate company. You have such a noble mission. Like, do you think about your business and what you're scaling more on the mission side? I'd love to understand that for anyone who's thinking about their business. There's always a bigger why, each
mhm.
day.
Yeah. Well, our mission is to help people worldwide learn better, faster, and easier. Um, our vision is to be known as the most loved, the most effective, and the most trusted brain training company in the world. And so that's kind of what we work on is that.
Yeah.
Uh
So when you're bringing on these franchisees, do you have, I mean, obviously you go through a process to make sure they have that aligned vision or it sounds like a lot of
mhm,
them already have heart and connection with it through their own experiences perhaps or through
mhm.
others. But is there a process that you take them through to align to your core values and things like that?
Yeah, we do. So we kind of have a series of steps that someone goes through. Um, are you familiar with EOS?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I breathe.
I love
I've
it
even
too.
helped other companies with EOS. And so, you know how they have like a people analyzer? So
Uh-huh.
you kind of take your values and then there's the gets it, wants it, has the capacity to do it.
Yeah.
I took that and I expanded on that. And we added a lot of the qualities that are our top centers. And so I added like would buy from this person or would want them to train your own child. So, is a problem solver. So we have, kind of a people analyzer that we do for everyone who wants to join our system.
I love
And
that.
yeah, so that way we have great conversations. And if someone, if we're not sure, then sometimes we'll give them an assignment to do. Or maybe ask them, you would be good at this part of the business, but you need someone, maybe you need a partner to come alongside of you so that you have both sides of the business.
Right. Right. So, Kim, you've written 2 books. I know Unlock the Einstein Inside, which is
Mhm.
amazing, and I get it now because of the story around your dad and him being a genius, so I really get it. But the purpose-directed business, what drove you to write that? Obviously, it's a very different, uh, it's a whole different side of what you're doing around the executive level learning. Talk to us a little bit
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah. So we really wrote it to someone who is looking to maybe join us in business. And so it takes, my, my dad has always been a learner. I've always been a learner. In fact, every Friday at 10 o'clock, I turn off my email and my job is just to learn something, learn
Oh.
things.
I
Right.
love that.
So, so
I
yeah,
might
I
have to
even
steal that
tried
from
to,
you, Kim. I love that.
um, you know, just our own life purpose. And so it's really just great advice for anyone who wants to run a small business. And so it looks at, what's important, how to answer the phone, how to market. And so we take all of these complicated things, try to simplify them and tell them what to avoid and what to do. And so, that's kind of to have a successful franchise system, you need to have good systems. And so that was kind of my job when I came and to work for my dad. I learned franchising. And then, my dad had scripts and that type of thing, but I'm artsy. So I would take it and simplify it. So I would take a script and go, okay, we're going to turn this into 5 questions and make it visual. And so that's kind of what we've done with a lot of our systems. And so there's a lot of it in there, just even about customer service and how to treat every student that walks into our center as like a rock star, how to do a business handshake. All of that is in our book.
I love that, and I mean, it's very practical and useful for really any small business.
Hmm.
I would encourage anyone out there who's, in small business or even just in a service-minded business, there's a lot of good things to
Right.
learn from that. So
Yeah. And how to be generous too.
yeah, right? So let's talk about your brand and your brand story. You obviously are wildly successful, and I know you won some incredible franchisor award. I can't recall it exactly, but like
Franchisor of the year.
of the year, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
like the ultimate you're the GOAT, Kim, you're the GOAT, okay,
Aw.
of
Well.
franchisors. I'm serious. And so as you're scaling this business, you're going across all these different locations, franchisees, you're authoring books. How do you tell the brand story? Like, from what do you think is the most powerful thing you've done to be able to scale the business?
Mhm. I used to just tell my dad's story, and in the last few years, I did I changed it, and I tell it through my eyes because I was here the whole time. And so I dug in and I found old film. I found old pictures. My dad did not take a lot of pictures, but I had to get some from my uncle. But I kind of tell the story really kind of from my eyes. What was it like to be the daughter of a genius who came up with brain training and has taught all of these people and helped all these people. So I've really kind of taken the whole brand story and just told it from my own perspective of what it was like to be born. And your dad puts you on a plank and he teaches you how to read and takes you to seminars. And yeah, I think I was actually probably the very youngest person to ever take like a Dale Carnegie class.
Are you serious?
I
How old were
think I was
you?
around 9 or 10, and my dad dropped me off, and I walked in and, signed up, and they didn't know what to do. Like, what are they supposed to do? There's a kid here who's come to take our class. So,
That is
um,
incredible.
isn't that interesting?
Do you
Yeah,
do that with your kids? Did you Yeah, I was gonna
absolutely,
say, did your kids go to Dale
absolutely.
Carnegie or any of those types of, Toastmasters or
Yeah,
anything to, like,
that's
help them?
That's one of the pieces of advice I love to give to entrepreneurs or leaders are involve your kids and involve them when they're young. Actually, my daughter works for Marriott. She is an event planner at the Gaylord in Denver.
Oh, in Denver,
And
yeah.
yeah, and not too long ago, even when I was teaching school, the one thing that I did was I would go to the door every morning and I would look all my students in the eye and I would give them a business handshake and say their name. And so that's something that from the very beginning as an adult, I just started teaching. And you won't believe this, but Mr. Marriott actually came to the Gaylord and Lily walked up, looked him right in the eye, gave him a really great business handshake, and he said, "Wow, that is a great handshake."
I love it. That is so
Right?
good.
Yeah, and
You
she's
know, I
like,
mean
"Mom, you won't believe."
Yeah, but I mean, what you teach your kids at the youngest age, they carry through. It's funny because my kids, have watched me in advertising and marketing through the years. And I went to his company, asked me to come in and talk about marketing.
Yeah,
And so I gave a talk, and at the end, this woman walked up to my son Michael and said, "Well, now I understand, why you're so confident." And he said, "Well, because I listened to my mom on conference calls in the back seat my whole life. I
mhm,
learned how to have a conversation. I learned how to navigate difficult things. And it's just, I can flex that muscle easily." So it is so very true, Kim, that the more you teach them, the more they'll carry that through into their adulthood. But it's
yeah,
never too
yeah.
late to learn, right? Like
It's
you could
never
learn,
too late to learn, yep, yep,
right? And
and and they learn best not by listening to you talk, but by watching what you do.
I love that. That's so true.
Yeah,
So,
kids don't listen, but they watch.
yeah. But so I want to talk to you about leadership because I think it's the same thing in leadership. And
Mhm,
you strike me as a very authentic leader. You like brought I don't know how many franchisees in the organization, but how do you also lead by example?
mhm. One thing that I think I've really kind of dug into in these last few years is leading myself. I am probably the hardest person to lead, right? So I have to lead myself. So that means I have to have good habits. So waking up, not hitting snooze, pre-planning, pre-deciding things. And so that's one thing that I've really taken on in these last 2 years is uh, just really bringing in all the habits that I can be proud of that maybe I got too busy so just really honing in on that.
Uh-huh.
I think one of the best ways to learn leadership, because I mentor a lot of like college age students, and
Uh-huh.
I always tell them to go and find a need and volunteer. And if you can, because when you volunteer to lead something and it is volunteers also that you're working with, you have to learn how to recruit, right? You need to cast a vision. They don't have to show up. So if they're volunteers. And so to me, that's a great way to learn leadership. And then I've always tried to just work my way out of a job. So if I can train and mentor the people around me to be better than me and work my way out of a job, now I can move on and I can start something else. And I want legacy. I want it to live beyond me, right? I want
Uh-huh.
it to be around for a long time. So, trying to build something strong. Um, I think the other thing that even when my dad asked me to be the CEO, I wasn't sure if I was ready, and I probably wasn't. I don't even know that I knew what a CEO is supposed to do. I knew what he did, but I was willing. And so I think you have to be willing when a challenge comes to just jump in and to learn about it and to give it your best and put good people around yourself.
Yeah. I always say, same. When I became a chief marketing officer, then I became a CEO, and it does not come with an instruction manual.
Right?
Nor does motherhood, by the way. It's like, take the baby home, and it's like, I'm supposed to take care of the baby now. I got to figure out how to do this. But I think, I love what you're saying, Kim, because I think if you are training yourself and challenging yourself to operate at your best,
Mhm.
and give your best effort, that's, people will look to that as something to aspire to be like. And I'm with you. You've got to surround yourself by great people, and trust them and coach them, in the same way. So I'm going to turn to a commercial break for a moment. So do you like juices? Do you like to drink
Do I
juices?
like j I do
Yeah.
like juices, yeah.
I like juices too. In fact, lately I've been doing a lot of like fresh pressed juices. I was in New Zealand and Australia visiting my son who was doing study abroad at University of Sydney. And the hotel I was at every morning would put out like all this gorgeous vegetables and a big juicer. And so every morning you could grab beets and ginger and all this stuff. And I really got into juices. But now I found soja, which is really great. It's a fresh pressed juice. This one is lemon, ginger, pineapple, and I love it. It's called Ginger Love. So I do like the names, and it's got a really nice logo. And it was founded on the idea that great ingredients make great drinks, no shortcuts, no unnecessary extras, just bold, natural flavors crafted with intention. So it's bright, it's crisp, it's perfectly balanced. It's got pineapple
Mm,
with a little ginger kick. So highly recommend. It's also a founder-led company. So if you're committed to quality, stay true to your vision, people will notice you. Soja. Okay. My little
that's
commercial
awesome.
break. Yeah. It's really yummy too. Um,
My oldest son lived in Sydney also.
he
I don't know
did.
if I ever mentioned that to you. Yeah, he went to
Oh,
school there for 4 years.
oh, did he? University of Sydney, or where'd he go?
No, he went to, Hillsong Leadership College.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. I love it there, and I could live there if it wasn't so far. So,
Right?
but what a gorgeous country. So let as we, kind of come on to the last part of the conversation, I'd love to talk a little bit about, as you look to scale your business, and what's the next chapter for Learning RX?
Mhm. One thing that we've been working on is having really great launches of new centers. And so we've put a lot of time and effort into that and just making sure that they are developing all of the habits as a business owner that they need to develop in that first year. And then just even having that accountability piece. And
Mhm.
it's so easy to lose focus and to spend time being busy instead of like productive. And so that's one of the things that we're working on is really helping them when it comes to that focus piece. And then we are also just looking at a lot of opportunities. There is a lot of movement right now with parents homeschooling kids, wanting to
Oh,
really meet their kids' needs. And so that is something that's really growing. And just a lot of states right now are even, there's funding for that also. And
right.
so those are kind of some areas of opportunity that we're really kind of looking at right
So
now.
are
And
you thinking
then,
like training the parents in how to train their kids and teach their
um,
kids or
no, we're really just doing that either in a center or over Zoom.
okay. So they could do it
Yeah,
virtually
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have kind of a partnership program that a parent can do a little bit of the training. But we like to make sure that we are most kids that are struggling aren't don't work well with their parents. Not all, but a lot of them because they're used to arguing and they get frustrated with each other. So
Yeah.
we like to give them a brain trainer that can be that big cheerleader and, let mom read a book or
Right, exactly.
get dinner cooked.
I can appreciate that as a mom of 8, they don't always wanna hear from me. So,
Mhm.
um, when you're entering these new markets, do you find that, it's more challenging to introduce the brand, or are you entering markets where people have accessed LearningRx virtually and they're able to integrate it into the market? I'm curious about that because you're in so many countries.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing is just to have people understand what we
Mhm,
do and why they
mhm,
need it.
mhm,
I would, when I think about expansion, I would also we have a lot of these big corporations that are almost cities themselves.
mhm.
And I would love to have some brain training, some learning RX centers in some of those companies where, workers can go and take their lunch break and brain train. So I'm looking forward to that. I would love that. Um,
You can
I had
test it
another
out at my
point too.
company. I think they'd like it
Yeah.
would enjoy it at my company, so we'll have to talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. But when it comes to just understanding what we do, you can't really put it on a postcard. It's kind of like an 8-page magazine to explain, what brain training can do and what are those 7 underlying skills and why is it important that they're strong. And
Right.
so, you know, the more and that's what I love about AI is it's helping tell the story along with us.
Well, I mean, when you talk about brain training, it sounds like it's a category unto itself. It's not just academic. You talked earlier about there's
Mhm.
there's and I wanna make sure I got this right. It's what you know. You said it's what you know, which is the academic side,
Yeah, the
and
2 parts to SMART. What you
right.
know and then how you process
And how you
information.
process it. So you've really defined an entirely new category.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anybody doing that.
There are, like, some digital games that try,
Yeah.
but, you know, most people gravitate towards what they're already good at.
Mhm.
So, you know what I mean? When it comes to those different games, they're gonna choose the ones, if they're strong at visual processing, they're gonna pick that. If they're weak at that, they're gonna, I don't wanna do that exercise. And so that's why you kinda need that coach that's
Right.
there to kind of push you through. And yeah, we really there isn't really anyone who does what we do.
Yeah. But you'll coach people beyond. It's not like it's a program and you're out. Like, you can stay with somebody and continue to coach them. Like, say I wanted to work with you. We'd
Mhm.
work together, you'd coach me, but I could continue on that path and maintain that regimen, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kim, the last thing I wanted to cover is you're as a female leader. I mean, a lot of women look up to you. I certainly do. I think you're
Mhm.
incredible. You're just so genuine. I was just enamored with your story from the minute I met you. As any words of wisdom to women who are aspiring to lead companies, anything that you would offer or share?
Mhm. My advice would be to find other like women and start a group. I have a group of 14 franchise CEO founder women, and we do life together. We get together once a year, sometimes even more, but for a 4-day weekend. And we just get together and we talk business, we talk life. On Fridays, we have a fun question. On Mondays, we do prayer request. We just live life together. And when we have a question, because we have so many smart women in this group, someone always has a great answer for us,
Yeah.
or maybe something we hadn't thought of. Don't do it alone. Don't be on an island. Find a group or start a group yourself, and let that iron rubbing iron work in your life.
I love that. That is such great advice. I'm with you on that one. I have a similar group of women that I turn to who I can ask them anything and they can help me navigate it. There's always these odd things you're challenged with, and
Right?
wonderful perspective. And it's important. You need those people. And yes, iron sharpens iron for sure.
Hmm.
So, well, Kim, thank you so much. This was amazing. I love learning about your business. Love, love, love your childhood stories. They are incredible. It reminds me, and I wanted to share one thing with you. There's a very dear friend and client of ours who also is of the belief that, involve your kids early. And he actually does a summit, a entrepreneurs summit, and they
Hmm.
get together as families, and the kids are trained into being entrepreneurs at a very young age. And obviously your father was ahead of the curve on that. What a brilliant man, teaching you to be an entrepreneur at such a young age and putting you in Dale Carnegie at 9. I mean, that's so classic. But for the parents out there, entrepreneurs out there, do involve your children. It is a really wonderful skill to teach them. And if there's ever a time where the entry to being an entrepreneur has been so much easier with technology, with everything that the world offers right now, that is such wonderful advice that you share, and I really am grateful for you pointing that out to the listeners here. So thank you so much, Kim, for joining me on the Inside Out podcast. For those of you tuning in and you want to learn more, I definitely am interested in doing some work with you, both for my children and my family, and for my team. You certainly can learn more about it at learningrx.com. Kim, thank you.